Hi, my name is Mike Allen, UCLA Communication Studies class of 1986. Here to tell you my Bruins story. I actually grew up in San Diego. I knew about UCLA from watching football on TV, but no one in my family had actually ever been to college, so I set my sights on trying to come to UCLA. Applied only to the UCs, and UCLA was my first pick, and I got into the college. And of course, I was thrilled. The first time I actually saw the campus was when my dad and I came up for orientation. And I was just blown away by how awesome the campus is and how amazing the people were that we were working with to try to figure out what the course of my next 4 years would look like. I chose the communication studies major because I wanted to go into law, and I wanted to be pre-law. And the counselor said, well, you should pick kind of a major that leads to a couple different career options. So I'd always liked advertising growing up, and I saw that if you took communication studies as a major, it would also be a good precursor to a career in advertising or marketing, as well as give me the option to go to law school. So I chose the major, very difficult major to get into, so I worked really hard my first 2 years and got into the major. I worked at the medical bookstore as a shipping and receiving clerk, which was really cool because I got to go into South Campus a little bit more often. I got access to university vehicles, so go out and pick up books and drive them back to campus and stock them in the bookstore. I also was a tutor on campus for a lot of the athletes. So I tutored English, composition, and literature. It was a great opportunity for me to work on campus, get a little money, do what I like doing, which is really writing and helping other students. And I got to know some really cool people along the way. What I loved about the communication studies major is that I was able to take courses in a number of different areas, whether it was psychology or whether it was political science or history. And what I learned over the years is the importance of all of those things coming together to help me form opinions around communication and communication studies. I also took advantage of programs on campus that allowed me to get some practical experience in the fields of advertising and marketing. So for example, I worked with the Mardi Gras program with the Daily Bruin, and I had a couple of internships that I got through the communication studies program, one of which was at NBC in Burbank. And that was a ton of fun because I worked in their press and publicity department. So I was able to write press releases during the day for their news channels and their programs. And then before I came home at night, I would actually go watch them film The Tonight Show. I strongly encourage people to take advantage of internship opportunities, whether it's through the university or through contacts you have elsewhere. For me, it was great exposure and got me my first taste of what it would be like to work in marketing and advertising. Right out of college, I had interned at an agency called TBWA Chiat, which is one of the biggest ad agencies in the world. And they actually offered me a job coming out of school, but it just really wasn't a lot of money. I had student loans like a lot of people. I wanted to get a car. I wanted to be able to go out. So I took another job, actually. I had gone through the on-campus interview program right here through the Learning Center, or the Career Development Center. And I got a job with a finance company, which sounds strange, like you want to be in marketing, but you take a job in finance. But what's really important is that you need to understand the business side of things as well if you're going to work in marketing. And that job gave me a huge opportunity to work with Fortune 500 companies. So I did that for about 18 months out of college, made really good money, saved up some money, and then I started cold calling advertising agencies until I found my first job. I had a $250 phone bill cold calling people. That was a lot of money for me back then. So I landed my first job in advertising actually with an agency called BBDO as a result of some of the cold calling I had done. And the reason they hired me, and I'll never forget this, they told me is that they were convinced that I would work for free. Essentially, I was working for free because we weren't paid very much, but the idea was that I was so passionate going in and I wanted that job that they knew that I would work my butt off, and I did. So I got the job, did very well there, went from there to another ad agency, and then from there actually got recruited by Nike and spent a large part of my career in marketing for Nike. After Nike, and to sort of bring things full circle, I got a job back with TBWA Chiat. That's the company I had interned with in college. And they now hired me at that point this point to run Nissan and Infiniti. So it was a really big opportunity. I was in my early 30s, and I fully took advantage of that, went on to run a couple of their offices, and then after that started an agency called 180 that I ran for 11 years. One of the interesting things I've found in my career is that things that motivated me even as a young person continue to motivate me today. So for example, I loved coaching when I was a kid. I would always coach my younger brother's Little League team and things like that. I just loved mentoring and helping people. When I got to UCLA and I was a tutor for English composition and literature, I got to help people who maybe weren't as strong as in those subjects as I was. And that gave me a lot of satisfaction to see them really work hard and do well. And I've sort of taken that same thing into my career, where I've developed a lot of young people within my jobs in advertising and when I worked in marketing at Nike, where I've just seen them come in, worked really hard, and helped mentor them to be in, to find their own path and really be in really great positions. There's a number of people in my lifetime now that I've worked with that I always joke that you're going to hire me one day, and I think I'm finally getting to that point where they might. Today for me, mentoring is taking on a whole new light, and I'm able to do it right back here at UCLA. I'm working with the student ad team, for example. We just launched a marketing program for the new communication Ph.D. Degree that's starting next year. I'm also working with them as an advisor on their project for 2019-2020. It's been an amazing opportunity and experience for me to work back with kids, with students, see them where I was in my life at their point in their life, and help them just sort of understand the opportunities that are out there, really encouraging them to pursue their passions, to pursue opportunities that put themselves out there and give them real world experience working in the field of communication and marketing. If I were to give myself advice as a student back in the day, I think it would be the same thing I'd tell students today, or I tell my kids. I have two boys that are in college, and that is, don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Everybody on the other side of what you're looking at and experiencing in life is waiting for somebody to just reach over and shake their hand and say hello, and break the ice, and start a conversation, and start a journey maybe you didn't know that you were going to be starting that day. I would really, really encourage myself and others just to put yourself out there, because it's a very receptive community around you, especially at UCLA. And you're going to find that when you take a chance, when you take that first step, great things are going to happen. Looking back at my career and all the things I was able to do, what's really important is that if I hadn't taken that first step, if I hadn't taken that internship, if I hadn't pursued something on campus that led to a job opportunity off campus that eventually led me to my career path, I never would have ended up where I was. My journey is completely different than yours will be. It's completely different than anyone else's journey will be. But the important thing is just take that first step, then that second step. You never know where they're going to lead. And what the amazing thing is you're going to find that you really enjoy the ride. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, UCLA. UCLA, fight, fight, fight. Not bad for an old guy.